Okay, so welcome back to another video utilizing, well, it's in the Active Directory series that I'm doing, and in the previous video we just really implemented the Active Directory and made sure everything worked, spun up a DC, installed this stuff, got a client access going, made sure we had access actually. That all worked well. So my second thing to implement, which I didn't have in the video because I've never done it before, and I wanted to make sure I got all the troubleshooting steps out of the way prior to setting it up, was implement a segregated network inside of the network, essentially. So my ProxMox stuff is already segmented via my home router, right? But inside of that, we install the Pfsense machine to further segment virtually the network that the Active Directory is actually operating on, which I did succeed in doing. So now this Active Directory client here, if we go, we can just check it out real quick. Well, let's go. Network and sharing, blah blah blah. Adapter still has no internet. I don't really know why, but it does have, as you can see right here, cyberftw.com. Right, that's my domain I set up. Hopefully it's probably a real website, but anyway, got here properties, and as you can see, if you compare it to the last video, I did have it on my my previous network, and now it is assigned to the segregated Pfsense network. So the reason I wanted to do this is not only is it more realistic that you're going to have segmented networks that are subnetted differently, I want to set it up so that our initial access machine is going to be outside of that segregated network. So I have one more machine to spin up that's going to have access to the segmented network, but it's not going to be in it. And that's going to be our initial access. And this is all in order to practice for practical pen testing. I mean, I do completely understand like how to go about an Active Directory pen test, right? But the practical setting is hard to find. And the only two examples that I know of right now, one is the Try Hack Me Red Team lab, and that's super red team focused. So it is realistic, right? But it's super red team focused, number one, so it's going to be a lot harder. Number two, red team focused in that like the red team's goals are a lot different than a pen test goals, essentially. And second to that, examples wise, is the Hack the Box Pro Labs, which I personally have not done yet because the price point, it just seems too steep for me. In the future, I may at least do one, or I'll probably just do one Pro Lab prior to going after and securing the PNPT, which is what I want to do next. Okay, so we're just doing some quick tests right now. As you can see, I pulled up a quick command prompt already yesterday during my testing. I'm not sure if I did it after I segregated it or before, but I went ahead and made a reverse shell with MSF Venom, and as you can see right here, rev.exe, and it has my dedicated IP address for my attack box. And so on the attack box, I'm gonna whip up a netcat listener. Okay. And if you're watching this, you probably already know how to do it. And if anything in any of these videos I cover, you guys want to see an in-depth like how to, just tell me in the comments. I'm not even sure anyone's going to watch these. So that's why I'm not filming like all the how-tos and every step. But I do want it. Not only is it good for this to practice my, not only do I want to do this to practice like practical pen testing, like I said before, I want to do this in order to help my presentation experience, right? It always helps to sit in front of a camera and know that you're being recorded, doing and acting and doing what you're saying, right? It's all recorded. That's always good practice. And number two, in order to, like in the future, if I get to a point where I need to like reference something, right? Notes are awesome, and I love notes. I'm going to be doing some of this based off of my notes from previous things I've seen. I'll have a video documentation of doing it myself. And that's going to bring that memory back like as soon as I need it, if I do need it, and during my study-in before like a practical test, or like, let's say I'm doing an engagement for my employer, boom, I can pull this video up and be like, oh yeah, okay, that's a good idea, I'll do that. You know, it's stuff like that. Other YouTube videos can do the same thing, but I would say this is one of the best ways to personally get it done. So let's get back into it. Let's run. So we're gonna run this reverse shell, make sure it still works, and make sure that even though it's a segmented network, when it calls the IP address that I put in this reverse shell, it should be not able to access it. I think that's what I'm going for. So what's cool with Windows, we just run the exe. System cannot execute. Oh geez, oh no. Defender's on. What did I do? No, I turned it all off yesterday, so it must have started back up. Oh no, it's probably submitted too. Please. Oh, everything's turned off. Not available. Turn on. Severe. No, it just disappeared. I didn't even click anything. Protection history. Can I just... Actions? No, I don't. Oh, it's turned off. Okay. It says everything's turned off, so why was it freaking out? Okay, yeah, I didn't do any obfuscation on that one either, so let's just do a... Oops. Directory. Okay, it's gone. So it did grab it for some reason. I swear I turned everything off. Let's see here. Scan options. No. Don't do anything. Let's see. Manage settings. Real-time protection. Okay, so it looks like that automatically enables that, like if you restart or something. So for those who didn't know, now you know, because I just made the mistake. So turn all that off. So let's just go ahead and craft another quick reverse shell. Let me turn off this netcat and set it up so you guys can see that. Let's turn this one off, this one on. Cool. So now, as you can see, like in there still is my command history of me accessing the machine prior, just to make sure that everything I had set up was working. So if we just go through here, and actually it's still on here probably. Rev.dll. I know I made an exe though. It's weird that it's DLL all of a sudden. Maybe it's not in this one. That's probably a different reverse shell I made. Oh, okay, yeah, it's in my downloads. Well, as you can see, full of my zips and tools that I've downloaded and been testing. So, could never have enough tools. Sorry. Okay, so let's do just a quick Python server. So now, I mean, I could have just done this. I could have just pinged it, I guess. But let's just do a curl. I wonder if it's in here still. No. Okay, let's just do curl. HTTP my Python server address, port, file. I think it's just, oh, it might be 2 dashes, dash out file, what we want to call it. Yeah, it's not known. Cool. I messed that up. Maybe it's just 1 dash then. Network unreachable. Cool. So we already know that this network is now successfully segregated. So the Pfsense utilization worked. This is the proof in that. Oh, and you guys weren't watching that, but let me go back to, let me bring up my other real quick. There we go. So now you can see there, I did a curl, blah, 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 out file, the name of the file, and it said, obviously, could not resolve. So that's great. But we know that Pfsense is working, and that's good. So this is exactly what I was looking for in terms of how to set up this network to be practical and easily testable, right? We're almost making a testing environment for ourselves, or for myself in this case. If you're watching this, hopefully you're doing the same thing. It's really great for practice. So yeah, now I'm going to stop here and I'm going to spin up another machine that has access to both the segregated and the normal network. So we'll see you guys back when that happens. Hello and welcome back to another video. Today, I'm just kidding. So right now you're looking at my previous Pro install. Right now I'm installing the kind of bridge client that we're going to have our initial access on. So you might wonder, like, how much practical experience will I gain by knowing the exact way the network is implemented and set up, right? Well, number one, you're going to get a core understanding on how to implement the entire network itself and how it's set up, right? So similarly, you will find on other networks, even in enterprise situations, are going to be set up a lot similar. They're just a lot more scaled out. So with that core understanding, you're going to be able to come at these with a little bit more of experience under your belt comparatively, right? And we're talking real world pen test, right? And for the PNPT practical exam, which is a great, in my opinion, from the outside, I haven't taken it yet, going to, but from the outside, it looks really like an awesome example of what a real life pen test is going to be like. From my experience so far in my internship, and reading the PNPT documents, right? It is pretty realistic, in that you have X amount of days, maybe not so realistic, but in the aspect, you're going to have to write the report, you're going to have to do the brief, stuff like that. And yeah, it's all good practical exam. That's why it's called the PNPT. So here today in hacking ASMR. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I would like to add though, well, you're just looking at a black screen, that with this environment that I'm setting up right now, the one that I'm implementing, it's going to be a new thing for me to have I've done segmented networks before, right? But I have not done segmented with clients that have interoperability access between the segmented network and the let's just call it WAN, right? Well, let's call it different subnet, I guess, right? So the way I'm going to go about that is I'm going to have 2 virtual NICs assigned to my new client that I'm implementing right now. It's installing. And hold on a second, skip keyboard. So this is kind of it's going to be a little bit trial and error to get this initially set up correctly, right? But we're going to come into it with we're trying to really test tools here too. Yeah. So, it says I have no internet already. Okay, so I'm going to get back to troubleshooting this, but I just wanted to point that out. And dang, it's already black again. That screensaver's fast. Okay, I'll be back with more updates. Okay, so as you can see, it's getting a little more complicated now that we're implementing all these systems, right? This is one of the reasons why I love OBS so far in my use with it. It's really just been awesome to experiment with so far. But right now I'm showing you 3 virtualized systems right now, and on just for an example of how awesome ProxMox is, right, and why it's such a useful system. I'm running. Let me see here. Let's go to the ProxMox real quick. I'm running 6 systems on a $100 old beat up secondhand machine, and all I did was install 2 extra RAM sticks. So it's only running 16 gigs of RAM and a really old i3. So that's a dual core hyper-threaded. So it's not even really a quad core, right? I don't know how this is working so the way it is right now. But as you can see, it's a good example of why ProxMox is so awesome. It's not even running solid state. It's running off a 7200 RPM disk drive. Anyway, so it's getting a little more complicated now that I'm essentially running an Active Directory from one machine. Another reason why ProxMox is so awesome, right? I'm running all this and my laptop it's not even warm, right? Because none of the resources are being utilized like it would be if I was running Fusion or VirtualBox or something like that, right? So the Active Directory is up. I figured out why one of the systems didn't have network access, but they all do now because I properly set it up. The system that I wanted to have implemented with 2 NICs is working, and I'll just give you an example here. Oh, I got a CMD over here, so let's just hold on. I don't know. You might have to zoom in on this, but dang, come on, restart. What are you doing? Okay, there we go. Let's just move that out of the way. And then I'm going to change the view real quick. Yeah, you can see it's getting a little complicated. Let's go to this scene. Go ahead and show you this one. Okay, no, that should be better. Okay, so we're looking at NIC 1 here. This one is connected via this. So this is the details. You can see 10.10.1.4. That's its IP address. Default gateway is the Pfsense router. The DNS is the DC. Because we're going to join, but we haven't joined yet. I wanted to wait and show you guys what I'm doing with these dual NIC setups. And then here we have our other subnet, right? Because there's 2 NICs. So second NIC, different subnet. This one is on my segregated home DHCP. So home router is the DHCP server. And we gave it an IP address. The gateway is set as the router. And the subnet mask, because it's 24-bit, each one of these is 12. So, yeah. Actually, I think I said that wrong, but you get what I'm saying. It's a /24 network. I'm not a networking engineer either, but I do have quite a bit of knowledge with networking. This, as you can see, this is working out. So now this will be the proof in the pudding, right? If before, let's just do a google.com. See if this even works. Cool. Somehow it resolved Google. It knows that it's going to use one of the NICs for that. Yeah, look, it used its 172 address. Maybe. That's probably just actually Google's IP where I'm at. Probably blur that out. But so we go to ping the DC. So 1.2. Oh, that's 1.1. So that's the Pfsense. Works, which means that the DC should ping back. Cool, it does. And then we'll ping my attack box. And it does. So as you can see, we're successfully pinging 2 separate subnets, which means this is exactly how I wanted to utilize the machine, right? I wanted to set it up so it had dual subnet access, essentially as our seed in poisoning the forest, right? Is the way to think about it. Okay, so we'll just cut this out for video editing purposes. Okay, we're back. So now I am interested in when I do my enumeration phase, right? I wonder what addresses are going to show up, because I should only see when I do my nmap with the 172 subnet. I should only see the machine on that subnet, right? Unless I utilize some of nmap's fancy scripting. I still don't think it'll be able to figure out like, oh, there's another NIC. It shouldn't anyway, at least not in my experience previously. So we'll keep going here. Join the domain, like I was saying. That's the proof. It's the real proof in the pudding, is joining the domain. So you guys can laugh at me all you want. This is the way I like to do it. To go to properties and then change settings. Oh, we didn't even name it yet. We'll call it MS2. And then MS2. It's probably gonna give us a weird error. Domain cyber. Oh no, it's not ftw.com. So this should, in theory, general network error. Okay, so maybe it's the dual NICs that are messing this up. Okay, maybe that was just the name though. Let's just erase that. Can't. Okay, change. let's keep the same computer name just to see if this, I might have to come offline and troubleshoot this. Okay, general network error. That's something we're gonna have to figure out. I might have to remove the 172 subnets gateway, I think. Let's just, for testing purposes, disable this. Disable. Okay, no, it's not letting me because it's dialog box. Okay, disable. So we disabled the 172 one. Now let's see. Let's just try this again. See if it'll join the domain. Still a general network error. Interesting. Where did I mess up? So we're going to do some general troubleshooting, and I'll come back when I find the solution so you don't have to watch me struggle. Thanks for watching. Okay, so I haven't made too much progress, but I've figured out that it's definitely not my network settings, it seems. It's just something weird that's happening on this Pro install, because even when I don't have the domain, right? No domain, just trying to change the name, and it still says the same error. So I'm going to do some more research and figure out why that's happening. So after pretty much just rebooting, I was able to change the name to what I wanted it to be, and then also attempt to join the domain. Seems like it's working. Here we go. Welcome. Cool. So we're on the domain now. Okay. It says I have to restart. All right. So we're not going to restart just yet. The last thing we're going to do before we do another reboot is enable that other interface. Because we disabled it. And then with it all hopefully work. Enable it. Watch it enable and just kick me off the domain. Identifying. It should just boot right up. And then I'll have two interfaces, one to access both, or the other subnet, one to access the other subnet. So with I'll just hope that this is gonna work. Still identifying. It does take a while. It's doing a lot of stuff right now. Internet. Looks like. Okay, we got a gateway address. This is identifying. Let's refresh. Well, either way, I have internet access between both things. So what I'm gonna do is take this one. You know, I was gonna disable the gateway just so I didn't have two things trying to reach the internet from different. There it goes, network 2. Cool. So close. Do the final reboot, and we should be able to log in as a domain user. So, well, power restart. All right, so I'll save you the trouble of waiting. It's actually pretty quick though, but okay. So last video here before I take a break. Put it in the 3-play view again, just so you can see what's going on. Okay, so this one is already good on the domain. This one we just fixed has 2 NICs, dual subnet access. We're gonna log in with another user that I set up on the domain controller, and that one is Ron J, and his password is ridiculous because I just randomly set it up. Any luck? Looks successful so far, but Windows has a habit of just messing with me. Welcome, and then it disconnects. Okay, look. So let's see what happens here. Let's see if on this user do we have access to the dual NICs. It wouldn't. I just want to know. Honestly, it won't affect too much of what's going on, but it'd be cool to know. So while that's setting up, I'm gonna take a quick break. And my hair's crazy. And with any luck, we'll have the adequate network set up so I can demonstrate use of one of my one of the tools that I have yet to use, but looks very interesting indeed to utilize for pivoting. That's essentially what we're trying to set up here, is a network that's realistic enough to we can practice pivoting, right, with tools. There's many tools out there you can use to pivot, right? You can use like SSH tunneling. You can use like Metasploit, proxy chains, all sorts of stuff, right? But we're going to test out this tool called Legolo. I already watched a video demonstration on it, took notes on it. We're going to utilize those notes in order to get this test going. So we'll be back. All right, so we're back. It's getting even more complicated. We have on the top right here, the domain isolated joined machine. The bottom left, we have the dual NIC joined machine. And the bottom right, we have the DC. So, and then the top left, obviously, is my Kali box. Yeah, so first of all, though, I really want to fix these screensavers. Because it's like every time I turn around, I come back and it's like logged out. So I'm going to do that. Turn off some settings. I apparently update. I guess, no, I really don't want to update. Heck, update. This one's logging in to a new user. I think. Unless it's trying to update. Yeah, apparently it's trying to update. That's fun. So, that one's automatically trying to update. We're going to come back when everything's just squared away, set up properly. And I have the virus, virus and threat protection, all that stuff disabled on all the accounts that I'm doing the testing on. Just to make sure everything works, get some reverse shells going. Yeah, movement in the AD. That's what we're trying to do here, folks. Okay, like I said, it's getting pretty complicated now, but this is a good breakdown. And if you've been with me since the beginning of this series, you know exactly what we're doing. So thanks for watching so far if you have been. Okay, so now we have everything set up properly. We turned off the virus protection services on the machines. Right now we're just going to do a test and probably call it for the night, for the day. And then we're basically just going to essentially make sure that our network's set up properly and that it's functioning as we intended it to function with our overall design. I might throw a little snippet in here some point of like a visual breakdown of our network, just so in case you're tired of looking at me and my screens here. Yeah, I mean that's about it. Other than that, yeah, we're just gonna set up the network here, get it moving. Here we go with my quad screen view. Sorry about the 13 different mouse cursors. Okay, so we're gonna assume now, just for this test, that let's say a phishing campaign was conducted and we got access to a machine. We don't know anything about it. We just have credentials essentially, and we have the range of IPs that we're allowed to scan and access in the scope. And in that scope just happens to be this machine here. So hopefully you can see my mouse just on this one. This machine here, right? So we are on this machine. So now we should be able to do my old curl here and hit our Python server to grab that same reverse shell that we used before. That didn't work in the beginning of this series because we were in the middle of like segregating the network and stuff and subnetting it. But so this should work. Just out file. We'll call it the same thing. Okay, so it's searching for the server right now. I don't have it up. And we'll set up the server and it should just go grab it. Okay, let's just cancel. Oh, it looks like I got it. Right when I cancel it. UT file. Okay, apparently I thought my -o was going to be the name. So, I mean, where is that thing? It should be just in the C users. So let's open that up real quick, get in there and rename it, if we can run it. Because I don't want to sit there and remember my good old command lines. Well, that's kind of cool. So everyone that's signed on here has an account created. That's pretty cool, I guess. Oh, there it is. Oops. Okay, so it's called UT file 7. Yeah, it's gonna be like, what do you want me to do with this? Oh. Okay, so call it rev.exe, enter, and it turns it into an executable. So now let's go over to our Kali box. Kill this server real quick. We got it, so the network is working. Let's go over here and run a netcat. Boom. So now, in theory, if all this is set up correctly, I should just go, what's this? Huh, weird attachment I've just downloaded. And then look on our Kali box, boom, we have our reverse shell. So we know via all this complicated, it's semi-complicated network setup, that now we do indeed have shell access. So that's that. Okay. So it's weird. Okay. It's got some weird addresses here, stuff like that. Nice. So we're established, and I'm assuming that this one here is going to be our, it's probably our the VNC stuff, or could be, because it's on the 172 subnet, it's got to be the VNC stuff run through ProxMox, right? So okay, DC. So now we're on this guy. So technically, I don't even have to have access to this anymore because I already have access to it via my Kali box, right? So let's just do a dir over here just for proof. Yep, boom. Cool. We're logged in. So now we've confirmed essentially, but all that's left to do really is just to further enumerate on this machine and figure out like what's all on here, right? Yeah, and I mean, just by looking at just running a quick netstat tells me like, what's this 10.10.14? What's that about? Like if I was actually intruding on this network, right? First time hitting this machine up with these credentials, immediately there I'm gonna be like, oh, red flag, there's two networks. So the first IP range that I got was this box. The second IP range should lead me to eventually something else. Normally probably in an enterprise network, this would show up as well. I mean, like let's say we're doing an external pen test, right? It's going to show us the external stuff, and in that scope should be internal as well. And we found it, right? So as long as internal network is in the scope, we should be good to go. Which in this case, because we made the scope, it is good to go. So yeah, there's proof in the pudding right there. So when I come back and do the next video, it's going to be actually testing out the Logolo functions, right? So let me go to my full screen view. There we go. So with Logolo, we should be able to utilize it to pivot, like I've probably already said 3 or 4 times now, right? And that's what we're going to test it for. So if you've been watching so far, I might cut some of that out. But thanks for watching.